Here's the part nobody tells you. Real honey has over 200 natural aroma compounds, but some popular supermarket jars tested with almost none, tasting so syrupy that reviewers joked they bought nectar from a factory, not a flower. Funny at first, until you realize how widespread the issue actually is. Stay with me, because the biggest red flag is hiding in plain sight on UK shelves. Honey is supposed to be one of the most honest foods you can buy. Simple, natural, and hard to fake. But recent reviews, lab checks, and supermarket investigations in the UK tell a very different story. Shoppers started noticing strange textures, missing aromas, syrup-like sweetness, and labels that reveal almost nothing about where the honey actually came from. In this video, I'll show you the jars that raised the most concern, the patterns reviewers consistently reported, and the exact signs that help you tell real honey from a cleverly disguised blend. By the end, you'll know exactly what to avoid and what to look for the next time you pick up a jar. Why people started to worry, customers didn't suddenly become paranoid. The concern built slowly as more inconsistencies surfaced. First came the ultra-runny jars that poured like pancake syrup regardless of temperature. Something real honey rarely does unless it has been heavily filtered, overheated, or adulterated. Then came the sweetness profile, a fast, sharp, empty sweetness with no lingering floral notes, which is typical of sugar syrups but not natural nectar. Labels stating blended from non-EU sources, with no specific country, began raising eyebrows, especially when paired with price drops despite rising global honey costs. Shoppers noticed packaging changes too. The quiet disappearance of words like pure, raw, or unfiltered. Add a few recalls, media investigations, and regulatory probes into honey fraud, and people finally began reading labels and questioning what was really inside these jars. No single clue proves wrongdoing, but the pattern is strong enough that consumers are right to be cautious and informed. 7. Stamford Street Clear honey buyers repeatedly compared this honey to golden syrup, describing a strange caramel-like sweetness that lacks the layered complexity real honey delivers. The texture was another concern, extremely thin, runny even in cold weather, and crystallizing in inconsistent grainy patterns not typical of natural nectar. Though the label admits it is sourced overseas, it reveals nothing about which countries, which floral sources, or how the honey was processed, a transparency gap that instantly worries honey experts. Many consumers felt misled because the flavor didn't resemble floral clear honey at all. It tasted engineered. Several reviewers said that when stirred into warm water, it dissolved instantly like sugar syrup. Another red flag. While not definitive proof of adulteration, the recurring customer experience paints a picture of a product that behaves far differently from authentic honey. 6. Hilltop Blossom Honey. Hilltop presents itself as a more premium brand, yet the ingredient transparency is surprisingly vague. Blend of non-EU honeys. For honey specialists, this phrase signals a high likelihood of sourcing from markets where honey adulteration is more widespread and testing is inconsistent. Customers didn't just notice sweetness, they noticed an aftertaste described as chemical, flat, or syrupy. Very unlike blossom honey, which should smell and taste floral. The uniform sweetness without depth suggests heavily processed honey or blends stretched with cheaper syrups. Reviewers also questioned why such a premium product failed to deliver a recognizable blossom profile. The lack of consistency between batches further fueled suspicion. When a brand charges more, people expect more, and Hilltop's jar simply did not deliver the natural taste, aroma, or mouthfeel associated with genuine blossom honey. 5. Sainsbury's Clear Honey. Sainsbury's has strong brand loyalty, which is why the complaints shocked so many customers. People described a honey that was too thin, too sweet, and strangely toffee-like, tasting more like a sugar syrup blend than a product made by bees. Numerous reviews pointed out the complete absence of aroma, a major red flag since real honey almost always carries a scent from its floral source. Some reported that it crystallized oddly, forming mushy or sandy textures instead of the smooth, even crystallization expected in natural honey. The lack of clear origin labeling didn't help consumer confidence. When a trusted supermarket's honey begins tasting artificial, buyers naturally question whether cost-cutting or supplier changes have compromised the quality of a household staple. 4. Tesco Clear Honey. Tesco's Clear Honey produced almost identical complaints to Sainsbury's, which makes the pattern harder to dismiss as coincidence. Buyers said it behaved more like rice syrup or glucose syrup, dissolving instantly, pouring too quickly, and lacking any floral depth. Real honey typically thickens in cooler months, yet many customers said theirs stayed watery year-round, a sign of heavy processing or dilution. The label's lack of detailed sourcing raised more eyebrows, especially when global honey fraud reports point directly to non-EU blends being vulnerable to adulteration. Several shoppers described an identity crisis, unsure what they were actually tasting. When a product meant to be natural behaves like a refined sweetener, suspicion is inevitable. 3. Patsiaka Multiflora Honey. Multiflora honey should be rich, varied, and aromatic, but reviewers of this product were disappointed by an unnaturally bright yellow color and an overly sweet, single-note flavor. Instead of richness, they found a thin texture that hinted more at syrup dilution than true nectar. Some mentioned the honey lacked any botanical aroma, a defining characteristic of multifloral honey. The mismatch between the premium-sounding name and the bland, processed taste made many feel misled. Several shoppers even speculated whether the honey had been overly heated, filtered heavily, or blended excessively, stripping away nutrients, enzymes, and natural compounds. A product that should be complex ended up tasting artificially simple. 2. Asta Classic Runny Honey. Longtime customers noticed a subtle but crucial change. The word pure vanished from the packaging. Almost immediately, reviews began describing a flavor shift: thinner, sweeter, less aromatic, and crystallization that happened too fast and too irregularly. Many buyers said the honey dissolved in water like pure sugar, losing all viscosity instantly, which real honey does not do. Others mentioned a new chemical sharpness or a diluted taste that left them uneasy. The silent recipe or sourcing change triggered suspicion, because brands rarely remove quality signaling words unless something in the supply chain has changed. Asta's consistency decline is what made shoppers worry most. 1. Little Over Apiary Acacia. Honey Acacia honey is globally prized because it stays liquid for months, has a pale color, and offers a delicate floral sweetness. This jar failed almost every one of those markers. Reviewers found the honey already crystallized, unusual, and concerning for Acacia. The taste was described as bland, sugary, and empty, missing the signature floral fragrance. Even more concerning, some customers noticed the absence of the standard infant botulism warning printed on nearly all real honey jars. That omission made buyers question regulatory compliance and quality standards. When a specialty honey cannot meet the basic characteristics of its variety, consumer trust crumbles instantly. What shoppers and experts actually looked for. Experts and aware shoppers pay close attention to small details that cheaply adulterated or heavily processed honeys struggle to replicate. True honey carries aroma: floral, herbal, woody, or fruity, depending on the nectar source. Texture matters too. Some honeys crystallize slowly and smoothly. Others stay liquid for long periods. But none behave like thin sugar syrup. Origin labeling is huge. The more specific, the better. A jar that simply says non-EU blend can hide massive variation in quality. Sudden changes in taste, color, or branding language, especially the removal of words like raw, pure, or unfiltered, are meaningful clues. Experts also note whether honey forms foamy bubbles, separates strangely, or dissolves too quickly, all signs of excessive heat treatment or adulteration. These observation skills help consumers protect themselves in a market where honey fraud is growing globally. Simple steps to protect yourself at the supermarket. Protecting yourself starts with awareness and a willingness to compare products. Always read labels carefully. Specific origins, single-source jars, and minimal processing claims are strong indicators of authenticity. Avoid the cheapest clear honeys when possible. Genuine honey production is costly and rarely cheap. Taste testing also helps. Buy a trusted local honey and use it as your benchmark. If supermarket honey tastes flat, overly sweet, or syrupy by comparison, Trust your palate. Support small independent beekeepers when possible. They typically offer full transparency and higher quality honey. If you suspect a jar is adulterated or misleading, return it, leave a review, or report it to trading standards. Consumer feedback is often what drives supermarkets to fix sourcing problems. Honey is supposed to be nature's most honest food, yet the patterns you just saw prove how easily that trust can be stretched. One wrong blend, one vague label, one silent recipe change, and suddenly, what you're spreading on toast isn't what you think it is. The problem isn't that all supermarket honey is bad. The problem is that too many jars behave nothing like real honey should. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments which honey brand you have at home right now, and I'll break down the reviews, the sourcing, and the label clues for that exact jar. Your comment also helps this investigation reach more shoppers who still think every bottle on the shelf is the same. And if you want more no-nonsense breakdowns that cut past marketing and expose what's really inside everyday foods, hit subscribe before you leave. The next video digs into another healthy grocery item people buy blindly every day. Stay curious, stay aware, and protect your plate.